By the time this video goes live, I will have seen Transformers 1, but I won't have had the time to write a review for it, so that will have to be out this upcoming Wednesday, hopefully. Anyways, welcome back to Buy or Not Buy, the only show that's trying to convince you to save your money. That's not also one of the other shows I make. But first, your likes. Please give, maybe subscribe. It's Legacy Evolution Wave 2, and potentially some stuff that technically didn't have a specific wave but was just in the same column. So I don't want to hear it when people say that I'm an idiot for including other stuff. I'm an idiot for other reasons. Also, as no one really seemed to mind that the previous two buy or not buys used stock pictures, in fact being two of my better performing videos recently, along with lots of you reassuring me that it's fine, I will continue to use them going forward as it does make it far less of a hassle to produce these. And to answer a question that some of you asked me, the reason I don't use footage that I already recorded of these on my turntable is because the way I label my old videos is with a number code that doesn't relate at all to the figure. So to find old footage like that, it can often take me 10 minutes per clip. And when you are talking about, say, 12 figures, that adds at least 2 hours to the production. And at that point, it's not that much different from just recording 12 shots of the figures on the turntable. It does make the perfectionist in me a little sad and embarrassed, but it does make the much larger, exhausted guy in me feel the good cold side of the pillow instead of having to burn my eyes out staring at the computer screen. So I'm grateful for the fact that you all have been so understanding and supportive of the way I'm doing this series. Anyways, Bomburst is sadly an easy don't buy. Where his compatriot Iguanas actually rocked and may be the best core class of all time, this little dude gets everything wrong. Where Iguanas was a faithful and cool update, Bomburst is a complete failure of sculpting. Yes, it's recognizable as the character, but that's only because the character is so distinct. Essentially every detail is wrong and made it look way goofier. What once was a sick-ass Halloween design now looks like a bat-themed Power Ranger. And no, not a Power Ranger's monster, a Power Ranger. Like the head feels more like a decorated motorcycle helmet than his actual face. The accessories are dumb as this dude's melee armament is a slap stapler, and his wing guns just lack detail. Plus, they're mounted wrong, meaning that you can't easily replace these with cooler weapons, and that would all be bad enough if it weren't for the transformation in the alt mode. Well, it's more like the lack of a transformation. Basically, you just put his arms along his sides, hinge up the backpack, and bend his knees. And when it's that simple, the posability really should have been better. And the alt mode would look fine if it held together at all, but in no way does anything peg in. He's just a robot doing yoga where everything's on a ball joint. So if you even think about this guy, parts are going to fall out of place. Real talk, Beast Wars McDonald's toys had more convincing, more solid alt modes. Then there's core class Grimlock, and this is another quasi-not buy. Though a lot worse than with Slag and Sludge, who at least looked passable, Grimlock is just impressively inaccurate, to an extent that normally you'd have to be trying to achieve. Like, how do you attempt to make him look like a G1 version and fail this badly? His proportions are a nightmare, he's wearing foam Hulk hands, his shins on their own are longer than his torso, head and thighs included. Why even include the gun if it's going to look 1% like it's supposed to? This little bastard doesn't even have elbows. Though insanely he does manage a wrist swivel, and then the transformation to get to this mode is predictably simple. I'm still not quite sure how the photographer managed to get it so wrong as to have the tail upside down, but that's the Hasbro CEO's nephew for you. At least I assume that's how this incompetent bastard got his job. Getting it right doesn't look much better, as it looks like Grimlock has a camping backpack slipping down to his ass, and like it wants to have Chun-Li's haircut but doesn't know how it works, so he's just wearing a pair of bowling balls on his neck. Look, if you want the team, then maybe you can justify this, but as a standalone mini Grimlock, only buy this if you find the fact that he's completely cursed to be the main selling point. Then there's the core class Nemesis Prime. The mold itself is a decent little pocket Optimus, though he is perhaps more prone to falling apart than I would like. I didn't pick this one up because I'm not one of those people who needs this color scheme every time it comes out, despite the fact that it's a really tasty one. Boosted even further by the color of the Energon axe. Man, that thing looks delicious, like blue raspberry candy. This just in, PerspectiveEnd wants to eat shiny things. Alt mode's decent, looks great, like the colors always do. It's a solid buy, even if I didn't buy myself. Then there's core Thundercracker, and this is doing better enough than the Skywarp that's moving its way up out of mid-tier buy to a full one, by the simple virtue of having null rays. The mold is solid, and by having the proper accessories, this makes it a proper budget seeker that goes great with your Titan classes. Good figure, you won't regret your $10. Crashbar. I like him, but I can see why you wouldn't. The Legacy Evolution Junkions are a bit of an acquired taste, but maybe not, as I was one of the people least likely to enjoy these guys on the planet given my hatred of parts forming. But the idea rules. You know, the Junkions are supposed to just about be unkillable because if you rip something off of them, they can just take a replacement from one of their mates, and it's a really fun idea to Lego different Transformers together, and this was the best excuse that they ever had for that. But it does result in complete non-characters that no one has a connection to. You get some lame accessories with them, like these side saddle box guns that don't look like anything, and even though they don't have to come apart to transform, they do tend to fall to pieces while you're doing it anyways. But I think that the main alt mode is pretty slick, it's fun, I really appreciate that this is trying to be a toy again and not the perfect be-all end-all collector's version of a character, so I say buy. But if you don't agree, I totally get why, and even with that logic that I've used, it's only decent. It's not amazing. If you like the concept, you'll probably like it. And if you don't, then this won't be the one to change your mind. Crosscut. A decent buy. I didn't pick this up myself. Or wait. No, I did. I totally forgot that I did. Well, that bodes well for the fact that I'm recommending this. Look, Skids was really fun. It's one of those solid workhorse molds that feels like the baseline for what Transformers means. A standard posing dude with a solid look, a fun, none too complicated transformation, and a deeply uncompromised alt mode. And this is just that dude again, in cooler colors with a cooler head, trying to look like a fusion of Optimus Prime and comic book Ratchet. Once again, this isn't much of a character, so you probably won't be buying him on a personal connection level, but the toy itself at a fundamental level is solid and fun. So if you like the look, I don't think you'll regret him. Animated Prowl. I know a lot of people really hate what they did to the animated characters in Legacy, but I think this one works pretty well. Like, there are liberties taken for sure, but it is one of the least stylized ones and is trying pretty hard to be faithful while looking like it belongs with the rest of your Legacy collection. The good news for animated fans is that the original figures looked almost exactly right, and you guys might have had the first toy line in all the Transformers to ever actually achieve that back in the day. So a more accurate version is already out there for you to get a hold of. But if you want something that can stand next to the rest of your figures without stylistically clashing, then this is your guy. And I think it's a buy. This is far from a perfect figure, and I do prefer the Chromia version, but it poses well, it looks pretty cool, and has a good alt mode. The transformation leaves something to be desired, but it's far from the worst one in Legacy. Legacy Shrapnel is a don't buy. This is such a missed opportunity, but Hasbro just didn't want to put in the damn effort with these guys. Oh, the transformation is like 0 steps long? Then I'm sure the posability must be great then, right? Oh, both those things suck. Well, then I'm sure that the accuracy is top-notch, right? Oh, it only looks passable in alt mode, and in robot mode the proportions are deeply fucked, and the head doesn't have any character to it. Well, shit. I've already proven that the torso on this thing is too short and too wide. Just looking at it, you can tell that something is off with those proportions. I've already proven that the transformation is boring. It's nothing, it's not interesting, and it doesn't hold together much at all. And I've already proven that it poses like shit for what it is. The joints are all basically the most boring kind of standard, except for the head, which only swivels, and when it's doing nothing else, the least this could try to do is pose good. But no, it doesn't even have that. Or a head that looks halfway decent, being too small and just lacking any personality. It looks kind of right to some shots, but it doesn't have any soul. Voyager Metalhawk. What do you get when you take one of the best figures from all of Transformers Kingdom, combine it with really shitty feeling plastic that gives off the sensation that it's a figure with GPS that's been left out to dry for 10 years, a ruined transformation, and a garbage tier alt mode that looks like what if a toddler drew a plane from memory? A hard do not buy, that's what you get. From the moment this was announced, I thought it looked like crap, with its way gaudier sense of style and ugly-ass alt mode that exists halfway between a $1 knockoff and a novelty soap bar. But then I got it in hand, and it feels like merciless trash too. And seriously, this takes one of the coolest, most interesting and fun transformations we've gotten in years, deeply simplifies it, and then also makes it fiddly as hell. This manages to lose just about every strong suit the original figure had, and what you are left with is a big goop of nothing. Skip it. Blaster, but in blue. If you like Blaster in blue, it's a buy, because Blaster was very good, and they've done literally nothing to change this except for the color. There's not a lot to discuss here. If you haven't seen the god-awful Headmasters anime, which most people haven't, then all you have to go on here is if you like blue and like Blaster. Blaster is good, so do you like blue? This will be your cheat sheet as to if you want this thing. Skipping Blitzwing as he's not from here, Armada Megatron. I know a lot of people bemoan the fact that this figure did away with a ton of the gimmicks the old figure had, but I'd still say that this is a hardcore buy. Like, what did you all expect? The Armada toys were famously called more gimmicks than plastic, and they compromised the ever-loving hell out of the figures to cram that many in, to the point where they were all stodgy bricks. They called the Optimus from that line Bendy Prime for years because he could pose like a bad Beast Wars figure, and like something well below the standard for today. That's like the best posing figure from Armada, and it's like a 3 out of 10 when compared to any Legacy figure. Legitimately, I don't see how you can hold a lower degree of gimmicks against this glorious thing. However, you can hold the shoulders against it. When the 20-year-old figure could have those rotate, how did you fail to? Otherwise, this is just a really handsome figure that feels great, poses solidly, has a decent and fun transformation, and a good alt mode. It's a buy. It's fun if you don't try to judge it against the gimmicks of the past. Lastly, there is Titan-class Nemesis, who may not be from this wave, but shut up. This is the antithesis of the Autobot arc in literally every way. That was all orange. This is all purple. That was an Autobot. This is a Decepticon. That thing looked dumb as hell. This looks sick as shit. That thing couldn't pose. This is one of the most posable figures from the whole line. That thing couldn't make a fist. This thing has thump cubes for knocking down buildings with. That thing's transformation was boring and lame. This thing's transformation rocks. The arc was a dude wearing a poncho made out of the alt mode. This is a woman made out of a spaceship. That thing was quite literally everything that I feared it might be. This is nothing I'd ever expected I'd be given. The Nemesis just rocks, and when I do a what's the best Titan, you can expect it to place very highly. So I actually thought while writing this that this wave was turning out to be worse than the first, but now looking back on it, it's actually a lot better. If we cut out Blitzwing for not being a figure from this line, then the good figures actually outnumber the bad ones, and I'd say that the figures that I feel on the fence about recommending do actually lean towards being a worthy buy. Plus the worst figure is probably Bomburst, a $10 core class figure being just something that simply didn't work on any level. Though a close second is Metalhawk, and he is a lot more expensive. But the good news is Armada Megatron is great, definitely more good than Metalhawk is bad, and the Nemesis absolutely rules. Quite possibly the best figure of not only Legacy Evolution, but is just competing for the best figure in all of Legacy. And before we go, let's thank a channel backer. And this time it's X-Spites, with Generations Darkmount / Straxus, who, hilariously, literally just today, I asked if he wanted to change who his pick was, and it went from Dead Ratchet to Straxus. And you know what? I can get why. This is a pretty cool, weird-ass half-track French abomination vehicle that's implied to be like the size of a multi-million-dollar mansion, that turns into a pretty threatening-looking robot mode. The head looks like what if MF Doom fused with a Sphinx and then wound up in a SWAT Cats cartoon. It just has a vibe, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Cobra riding in on this, only for it to transform in the G1 G.I. Joe Transformers crossover that somehow never happened. This looks pretty sick. Also, hand and ankle articulation on a figure from 2010. What is this madness? And that's not half what I have to say, but it's enough what I have to say. And I know, you know, what everyone else tells you to do at the end of these videos. So, if you liked what you saw here, please do that. And if you'd like to take it a step further, then please share this video with any friend you think may be interested. I hope you all enjoyed listening to me waste your time.